Howdy folks, it's Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Madness. It is the middle of the afternoon and we are doing an unboxing of Vive l'Empereur. This is a solitaire war game by Hermann Luttmann on the Battle of Waterloo. I believe it can also be played 2 players, but it's designed as solitaire, but it can't be played with 2. Now, box says it's from White Dog Games. This is no longer available from White Dog Games. Hermann Luttmann and White Dog Games have parted ways. Hermann's looking to rehome the games that were with White Dog Games. So hopefully we'll hear some good news on that sometime in the future. So that said, let's go ahead and open this guy up. Get my oyster shucker of power for unshrinking. Actually, I'm not going to unshrink this one. Since it's currently no longer in print, I bought another copy used that's partially punched, and I'm going to use it instead. I'm going to keep that other one in the shrink for now. So let's look at the back of the box here. And I want to zoom in, as I normally do, on... I zoomed out. I need to adjust this here. On this corner here. All right. So 117 by 22 map. Now, with White Dog Games, the previous publisher, comes with a paper map. You can get a canvas map, which I ordered. I'm not sure going forward if they will have canvas maps or not. That depends on what publisher that this game gets rehomed with. 162 unit counters and markers, 1 activation table player aid, 1 gameplay player aid, 1 comprehensive example of play booklet, and a rulebook. All right. So here, Hermann Luttmann, development by Fred Manzo, game art, Jose Ramon Faura. All right, so let's zoom back out a bit. We can see example of the counters here. Of course, this particular version being on a Blue Panther printed game from White Dogs. These are going to be thick counters, laser cut and all that. They look relatively simple. Looks like 3 numbers, silhouette, a name, unit designation. We got some leaders, Wellington, Blucher, and Napoleon, as we would expect. Some control markers, game turn markers. Excelman, 2nd Cavalry Corps, etc. All right, some status markers. Shaken, not stirred. I know, bad joke. Sorry, James Bond. So across here, so obviously solitaire suitability, 10 out of 10, because it was designed as a solo game, but it says like right here, game can be played as a 2-player game if desired. 5 out of 10 complexity, playing time roughly 3 hours. Ages 12 and up. All right, so this is Waterloo. I'm not gonna read that blurb because most of you know all about Waterloo, what's going on there, who's going on there, when and where. So I'll not dig into that in this unboxing. All right, so this is a rulebook with color. 8 pages. So this being a used copy that I bought, someone has penciled. That can be erased. If there's some nice annotation on like a rule correction errata or something like that, I don't mind that, but that's weird. I mean, it's just, I don't understand the purpose of his marking. So obviously he had a reason why he did it. Probably helping him understand the order of those things and what relevance they had. So components, the game map talks about the terrain. Do we have a chart of terrain in here? Sort of an interesting way to talk about the terrain here. Let's see this. There's this. Play aids. Do those have? I'm going to zoom out a little bit when we're looking at the higher level of stuff to see. Okay, so this is one-sided sequence of player aid. It is actually somewhat complex looking, at least detailed sequence of play. Yeah, there's more extra. There actually tells you. Okay, so I guess the the back of the box. Let's see here. So the counters are punched like so. They're partially punched. It looks like they're mostly punched. I was going to say here, it's listing movement factors for these guys in the sequence of play. Okay, those are status markers. Looks like these are Prussians. 2, 2, 4, 0. Okay, so that's obviously not moving. 9, 7, 2. So combat factors, nothing on here. 3, 4, 3, 2. Maybe this blue number down here is the movement factors. It's just being repeated here for clarification. Nope, not all infantry. Not have 2. These have 2 down there. That is a 3 number. So no, that's not the movement. I suppose I could look at the rule to see. Well, I'm seeing pictures. Now, one of the things that I heard that is general knowledge that I can share, it's not secret knowledge, is that there were some issues with the rules for this, some clarifications that Hermann had to scramble to make on Board Game Geek, that the rules weren't published to his original expectations and yeah, I'm trying to be careful what I can say, what I can't say, and so there were some things that he had to clarify, and he wasn't happy about the layout or the design of these rules as they were published. So obviously, highlight. I do not like highlighting, but I knew it was used when I bought it. I didn't know that it had highlighter, but you know what? I can't erase that. So I do not see a picture that explains. I mean, obviously in the text here between these, it's going to say what these numbers are, but you know how usually they have like an arrow pointing, so these are pictures of the counters, but no actual pointy. Well, maybe in the examples of play they do that. Pictures on the map. Sorry, I'm sort of all over the place here with this, folks. I can see the person that sold this copy had said that he felt like the game was unfinished, and which had sort of surprised me. But I think the game was finished from the perspective of the design, but the publication of it was not. Yeah, this is kind of weird. Normally, when you have a picture, you have a caption and text but like these pictures do not have captions. They just have the text, which usually you should have a caption, an explicit caption. Not always, but I don't want to be too nitpicky. All right, so anyway, it does not show a picture that points to the counters that says this number is that number. So you would have to read in here the backside, battle worn, unit steps, elan rating, artillery factor, strength point. The large number in red at the top of the left counter is the unit's complement expressed in the unit's SP, strength point factor. Small units with an asterisk by the SP value are quote-unquote small units and may stack with one another of any size, one other unit of any size. So you can have a large and a small or two smalls. So that's interesting. This 3 strength point factor is a large. This 3 strength point factor is a small. So in other words, their strength, there may be a smaller, less men in the unit, but they have more power for some reason, training and or weaponry versus this Brunswick unit. All right, now, so artillery factor, middle left number, black circle, attached artillery batteries. So inherent artillery, and then there's separate artillery. So we do have artillery by itself. Now there's some little weird mark after that. Is that an H? I think that's an H. Does that mean it's horse artillery or it's heavy artillery? I do not know. We will find out. H. So far, every single Prussian, look at that guy, he's just falling right out. So side nibs, but that are very small. I can just like brush my finger against it and it kind of like makes it go away. All right. So that's okay. So obviously this full-on light cavalry has no artillery batteries. That makes sense. Almost I'd rather see the symbol not there at all. Why have this symbol with the 0? Would it look cleaner? I mean, for consistency, because they always look there, but it's like, if it's a cavalry unit that doesn't, it's not horse artillery. If it's a cavalry unit, you could leave that out. I don't know. I'm of mixed. There's some funky little mark. Or no, that's the hoof. I was looking at this guy's 4 in green, and then it looked like a little mark next to that's actually his hoof. That's a problem when the silhouette interferes potentially with your understand. Ooh, that's just popping right out, which is the nature of those laser cut counters. So let's continue. The artillery factory, elan rating, elan, so morale. Basically, in the green, of course, if you're colorblind and you can't tell red from green, it ain't going to help you. Bottom left. Morale. Higher the elan rating, the better. Well, that's normally the case. Elite is 6. Veteran is 5. Regular is 4. Green is 3. So, Landwehr, 2. Never higher than 6, never lower than a 1. There are 1s. So, okay, that's the weakened side. So when you're battle worn, when you're flipped over, your elan will be down. Your strength points are down. Okay, so that's why this guy was a 3. He's large, and he's still large when he's flipped over. Where this guy, this is his front, and he's 3, and he's an asterisk, he's a small. Now, they're not showing his back, what he looks like. Does he only have 1 step, or they're just not showing it? All right. So, strength points, artillery, elan. So in other words, attack, artillery range. So we don't know what the range of these guys. So they don't have range as a number. So all infantry are probably going to have the same range, whether it's 1 hex or 2, but we don't know that yet. And artillery will have 2, 3, 4 hex range. Sequence of play, draw, activation. Activating French units, bombardment, combat, infantry, movement allowance, 2, 3, 4. Heavy, 2, 2, 2, 2. Forced march may increase 1 additional hex, but then must make an elan test. If failed, it receives 1 hit. Only 1 unit, though normally it will pass through. However, if at least 1 unit is small, 2 units can be the hex. In a walled building, i.e. a chateau, it must be too small. You can have a large or too small. You can't have a large and a small. Bombardment combat. Here we go. Our heavy artillery may fire no further than 4 hexes. All other units may fire no further than 3. Now, we saw that all the Prussian artillery were marked as heavy. But we haven't, looked at them. I'm not going to spill these all out. I'm going to hope I can see. There's an H next to that artillery. I want to find some... Okay, here is a cavalry corps guy that has artillery attached, but that's not an independent horse artillery unit, but they would have some horse artillery attached. And that was not marked heavy. Wow, this one is pretty good. It's heavy cavalry, but it's not heavy artillery that is attached to it. All right. So 2 hexes range, no, 3 hexes. So even the infantry, 3. So light artillery and infantry. Bombardment dice, plunging fire, point blank fire, target in square, desultory fire. I've never heard a game use desultory as a term. All right. Close combat, cavalry withdraw. All right, can you see that? I'm set. I'm gonna zoom in, so maybe you can see what I'm looking at there. Close combat. Active infantry unit moving within a small arms firefight range with the enemy only about 50 yards. If the active unit is cavalry, this represents an actual cavalry charge. All right, so this 3 or 4 hex range is bombardment of artillery strength. So if there's some of the unit that has artillery strength, they can bombard at 3 hexes. Where you are shooting as infantry, you're actually in close combat when you're getting up to within about 50-yard range. This is in rare cases conduct an actual bayonet charge, but you're actually doing your line fire would be using these close combat rules. All right. I suppose at this scale, if I remember looking at the back of the map, it's under here. Well, let's look out the map. So, paper map that comes with it. I'm going to unfold that real quick, and then I'm going to roll out the canvas one. All right. So let's zoom out. Let's see if I can sort of prop this up this way. Tilt up so you can see. And zoom in a little more. Get a little closer this way. You're not going to be able to read that. Unfortunately, the labels in the map, there's La Belle Alliance, as the Prussians called the battle. Mont Saint-Jean, as the British called the battle. Actually, the French called the battle, sorry. And known in the British world and the rest of the world as Waterloo, which is farther north off the map. Okay. Hougoumont, there's your walled settlement. Now is La Récin. That looks walled. Can you really tell? Now, I was expecting to see a terrain key on the map. There's not. So this is probably another issue with the publication of the game. Like here, you're describing these walled buildings. Hougoumont, La Récin. Papelot. I'm not sure if that's a hard T in French or L-O-T-T-E or a lotta. Do you actually papelata? 1607. So there's La Haye and Papelot. There's La Haye Saint. So that's kind of... Wow, it's totally not obvious from the artwork. Sturdy, well-protected farms. Only one unit or two small units can occupy it. These three, Hougoumont, and everything else as buildings and such. Buildings, towns, hamlets, farms, woods. So they say here, for example, and they list some hex numbers. That is not war game standard methodology, folks. I'm sorry. Yeah, I could see why Hermann had some issues with this publisher. It's a publishing issue. Yeah. Always have either on the map or on a card or on the back of the rulebook, and I prefer on a card or on the map, or both, your standard terrain effects chart should have a picture of the terrain with the name, the movement effect, and the comment effect, if any, right? I know sometimes there's a terrain key that has a name and a picture, and elsewhere the effects, and I don't like that. Combine them together in one, always, please, thank you. So if you are a publisher out there, or you are a designer who's thinking of self-publishing or have the right to insist on certain things with the publisher, always put those together, please. That's my ask, that's my opinion, but I'll tell you, convenience, good, easy, sensible convenience. All right, yeah. So this is it. This is a textual terrain effects chart, folks, describing what the name is, and it's basically the key. It's not well, it's telling you some of the effects, like the stacking here. Ridge and flat, Belgian road network, rivers. All right, so it does tell you the special effect of the walled buildings, and then, where was it? Here. Difficult terrain, having to stop, woods, buildings, walled, road effect, prohibitive. The effect of combat may be buried over here. So do not do this. This is an example of how not to lay out information about terrain, right? If for some reason you also want to describe it textually, you can, but always have a visual aid, whether on the map or on a card or on the back. I prefer not. Ideally, you have an index on the back or the inside back page. If your rule size are such, excuse me, that like normally you'd only come out with say 7 pages of something, and you make rule books in increments of 4 pages, right? Because you staple in another larger page, it becomes 4 more pages as you flip it over. If you have some room to spare, yeah, you could put some chart on the back. But this has already been handled a lot, read a lot, but it's going to cause more wear and tear on your rule book if you're constantly picking it up to consult something, whereas player cards on stiffer paper, and you can easily just reprint those, where reprinting the whole rule book is not as easy. So, yeah. Prussian rival, end phase, retreating, victory and defeat. Okay. It's always nice somewhere earlier to say what the general victory conditions are. What are you striving for? So as you're reading the book, you keep in mind, what are we trying to accomplish? And if a game has a more detailed, kind of victory point, kind of a multi-factor evaluation of wins, you can put that later. But up front, at least have a description of the victory goals and what we're trying to accomplish. Earlier the better. Okay, so it is a victory point. Wait. 8 SP. I think they meant VP. You gain 8 strength points for control of La Horizon. No, I think they mean victory points there. So little typo. Ooh, each old guard unit that is on battle worn side. So damaged guard, that's kind of like old SPI, Napoleon's Last Battle, kind of like, oops, if you have an adverse effect against the guard and you throw them in, you can demoralize your whole army or demoralize nearby corps or something. But this is victory points for each young guard, -2 per unit. Imperial Guard, artillery or cavalry. Now they talk about battle-worn side. What about destroyed? Can units not get destroyed in this? Could they only become battle-worn and that's the worst that you do to them? Or does it say double the effect if it's destroyed? And deduct Vive penalty casualties. So wow, committing to the guard penalties for that is on its battle-worn side. Can you not actually be destroyed? All right, maximum hits, single bombardment, rally partial hits equals 1 hit. 1 partial hit has no effect. All right, so let's. We had 2 cards. Detailed sequence of play. Commander activation. Which has some like random events type things. Old nosy table, Wellington. You roll dice, doing 2 dice has 11 to 66. base 6 ones and 6. Well, actually, you're only going, you don't have a 0, but yeah, it's not actually, because base 2 would be 0, 1. Anyway, never mind. Wait. Combat results table. All right. So what I was starting to read there, which didn't, there's no CRT. It's comparing dice. Did this not have dice in the box? Boy, I have to go back and check. When I bought it, did the guy say dice not included? Because I know some of Hermann's systems have, like 4 different colored dice in your roll, and they mean different things, and I'm not sure if this is semi-related to that system or not. Bombardment dice. Artillery factor, which is the initial number of dice the unit rolls. The number of dice can be modified. If you're down to a 0, may not conduct bombardment combat. Die. All eligible firing dice, compare each die to the target number 2F. Target number 2. We're under section 4, maneuver, bombardment 5. You mean 5F? Roll all eligible firing dice 2C through D. C, D. 2. It's not 2, it's section 5, bombardment combat. Uppercase E. See, again, this is not using standard case format. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here. We've got, that was zooming in. Activating French units. So again, this is from a Saltaire perspective. So you're doing stuff, you're activating corps, you're maneuvering them. Then you're doing bombardment combat. But see, that's section 5 of E. It's not a 2. So there are typos. So again, that's a publishing thing, but as a designer, I believe a designer should always insist that they have final say over the rule book that's going to be published. Because they wrote the rules. Okay, whether it's going to get reformatted a certain way, artwork's going to be added. Through development, there might be some changes. But as a designer, I would always want to have full authority to say yay or nay. It has to be, passed by me. That's, and I get some publishers don't want that. They want to buy your base design. They want to make changes, and basically that's it. This is the royalty we're offering. But I don't like to take a contract personally where I would have final say on the rule book. And I hate typos. So this nonsense would not happen on my watch. And if it did, you could blame it all on me. So I don't know what yay or nay final say that Hermann had or not. And from his reaction, from him having to scramble to correct things on Board Game Geek, I don't think he had the opportunity to see the final rulebook before it went in to production. And that's on the publisher, not the printer, right? A printer like Blue Panther, they get files sent to them and they will print them. You tell us what we're going to print, we'll print it. No, the publisher can say, hey, send me the initial production copies, and before we want a bunch more made. And since normally these games are print on demand, they don't normally say, we're doing a print run of 1,000. You might get an initial print run of say 50 or 10 or something, but they might only get like 1 or 2 just to proof them. And sounds like to me the proofing was not done. Anyway, I'm meandering on. Meandering Mike, man came minutes. Wow, yeah, we're already past 35 minutes. I like to try to keep these under 30, but this is my method, folks. I dig in and I look and I examine, and sort of a forensic approach to dissecting, examining, flipping over the dead body, licking on all the where are the shots, the holes, the blood splatter. So the target, we're back to the target number. All right. Target number of fire is based on the terrain hex of the target unit. 4, 5, 6. Wow. All right. Target unit is cavalry -1 to the target number. So they're easier to hit. The cavalry may move around, but they're bigger dudes. They're men on horses. So the higher the number of target, because you're trying to roll greater to get a full hit, equal to get a partial hit, and you need 2 partial hits run. So if you only can get 1 single roll of equal, the partial hit has no effect. Multiple partials can get a hit. Maximum number of hits that can be applied in a single bombardment combat is 1 hit. This is 1 step. This is recorded by placing the shaken, disrupted marker on our flip units to the battle-worn side. Step losses are cumulative. Interesting. So you can be battle-worn and you can have shaken and disrupted put on you. Rally out those units to recover casualties and reorganization. Limited units cannot rally. All right. So where does it say a unit may recover 1 step loss by removing or downgrading a marker? Shaken marker is removed. Rally only occurs. Doesn't actually say. So if you're battle-worn and shaken and disrupted, and then you get 1 more hit, you're eliminated? It doesn't say that here. Yeah, so buried in here somewhere, either it says it or it doesn't say it. This may have been one of the things that had to be clarified that were actually missing from the rules as published. I really need to go back and look through what got posted on Board Game Geek by Hermann as a way of, correcting and fixing stuff up. So, yeah, that must be really frustrating as a designer to see. This is Hermann. I believe it's his first Napoleonic game, and he's leveraging off some of his Civil War systems or what he did for the Franco-Prussian War. And I don't know how close this is to those. I haven't played all those different systems. But just I know. I've never had anything officially published. I self-published some stuff way back in the 80s. I ran some play-by-mail, snail mail games. I've done amateur board game designs and a role-playing game and stuff. Played with my friends. I've never had anything published by a publisher, only by myself in a small capacity. Like I said, the play-by-mail games. But I know enough of my desires and what would be really frustrating to say I'm gonna insist on, final right of refusal on, like, no, it's a no-go. As a designer, I want a go, no-go decision-making ability, and it's not ready to be published if things aren't up to standards. And I'm sure Hermann would have said no if he had a chance to fine-tooth comb this, like I believe every game should be. And I get that, publishers have to make money, they got to get stuff out the door, but this is more damaging to your reputation and your relationship. So, I don't know all the details, but White Dog Game and Hermann Luttmann are no longer doing business together. So that's all I'll say on that. I can't say more than that. All right, so Meandering Mike, we're at 40 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm not going to continue to dig through here. So some of you hearing this like, oh my God, that game sounds terrible, or not necessarily. It could be a great game. It could be an awesome game if you just wade through the stuff. This will return. This game is going to be rehomed. That is the word that I got, and no details on that. But it will have a new publisher at some point, and I'm pretty assured that the rulebook problems will be fixed. Let's take a quick look at that canvas map. It's one of the cool things about Blue Panther as a printer. They'll do canvas maps. And some games, like the Historical Game Company, so far, every single one of those that I've bought from them have standard come with the canvas map. Now, the canvas maps are more expensive, but like there we go. Okay, it's got a little bit of roll to it. I have to roll it back the other side. So color-wise, it comes out a little lighter. And I think I actually like that here. This paper map is a little darker, and the contour lines are a little darker and the heavier. I like this lightness here. And it's still crisp, the writing. It's almost, I don't know, I would have expected the paper, it almost looks like the font's slightly bolder on the paper. But this is so, it is more legible to me that this, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I really like the canvas maps. I really, really, really do. That's why I am considering a Blue Panther as a mechanism of printing for my designs in the future. However, some of the ones that I'm thinking about are going to be much larger. The bigger the maps on canvas, the much more expensive they get. So like I think it's like, a quarter of this size is the Historical Game Company. This was what, 17 by 22. So that's 22 across here. So 11 by 17. Yeah, so like folding that in half, but you don't want to, if you fold it too hard and it actually creases, it's hard to get the crease out of these canvas wings. You can see here that you might be able to iron that out, but you got to be really careful, use a low heat and use a cloth, because this coating on the top of the canvas could maybe melt. But I do think that canvas, I'm going to now roll this back the other direction. Well, that's it for now, folks. Meandering Mike, Man Cave of Madness. Set this aside, put the, so as we say, I've got my shrunk copy. Collectors might say, oh my God, this is out of print and they're not selling anymore, and not gonna be able to get more of these, and so I don't know. Is that a collector's copy? Nah. War games are not collectible in the same way as things like stamps or things like a first edition of a game is not more valuable than the second edition, because the second edition usually has improvements, and you know, I suppose maybe mint copies of, you know, the original SPI and Avalon Hill games, 50s, 60s. There's, you know, in certain other titles, those are collectibles, but most of them are not, you know, and people want them for the value of the play, and you know, it's a supply and a demand thing. So Case Blue is really, really pricey because it's out of print, and those that want it, like, you have to really buy a lot. It's not collectible in the sense of a collectible. It's just really desire to play it, supply and demand. Some of you will disagree with me. I mean, I know I'm a player and a collector. There's things that I have to get a complete, like, oh, I got to go out and find out all the Richard Berg titles. You know, Richard Berg's gone. Let's try to find them all and buy them all. And so, am I ever going to play all Richard Berg titles all the way back? You know, no. But still, war games shouldn't be bought as collectibles. Yeah, and don't do as I do, or don't do as I say. Anyway, Meandering Mike, Man Cave of Madness, Vive l'Empereur, Hermann Luttmann, previously from White Dog Games. Some point in the future will be from another publisher, and I will do an unboxing of the new version too. I'll probably get it to compare and contrast. That's one of the things that I like to do. I like to analyze the difference between different versions, or you know, just different games, different scales, different battles. You know, just, yeah, I like to do all that comparative analysis and stuff. And you know, I've got a segment on my show, Compare and Contrast. Only done one episode so far, but like, for example, I would do this one if new edition comes out, and I'll do a compare and contrast on that. So anyway, let's sign off now. We're past 45 minutes, way meandering. So all you good folks out there, take care, proofread whatever you got before it goes out into the wild world of the gaming public. And take care and ciao.